This is a band from Great Britain called Madness, and they have started playing two-tone music or two-beat music first, which is basically the predecessor of the ska music, which is the music the skinhead bands play, except they are now past ska music and they are playing some type of ska hard rock. Yes, for some reason they were skinheads' first choice of music. The style of clothing the band launched was also how the first skinheads used to dress, so it inevitably led to some conflicts with the band members themselves, given that one member is half Jewish and another saxophone player at one point was a black guy, whom the skinheads attacked during one of their performances, and that led to band publicly denouncing the whole movement and saying that they had nothing to do with this movement or their members, that they thought they were just bunch of misguided kids who came from problematic homes, who were hot-tempered, but would eventually come to their senses and not act upon their impulses, and they said that racists were no longer welcome at their concerts. But I don't know if that caused that the skinheads stop listening to them entirely or not. What I find also interesting is that none of the members, although they are blonde, blue-eyed people, are of Nordic, supposed Aryan race. I know something little about races, which are a real deal, by the way, and they are Borbai, Brennan North Atlantic, and probably some other, too, but not Nordics. The closest of those types to the Nordic is North Atlantic, but he is the only one with the dark hair of the above-mentioned types, because he is the mixture with Mediterraneoid. The other type are Proto-Europoids, and they are descendants of Cro-Magnoids of Europe, unlike the Nordics. But I guess it could be possible for the skinheads not to be aware of the band members' true race because, after all, Hitler was not aware of his own race either. Land of Hope and Glory is how Churchill supposedly called Great Britain, but what's more interesting is that that's the slang for the prison in British English. So basically this song is talking at the same time about Britain, corrupt British prison system, and about the eternal karmic circle of birth and rebirth, or samsara as it is known in Hinduism and Buddhism. Notice the funny names of the prisoners: Bridges, Sharkey, Nutley, Jackson and Thompson, which even says to the prison guard master, implying that he is a Mason. Notice the reason why the new guy, or recruit, as they call him, has ended up in a prison, because of talking too much. He mouthed it too much about, as he says, which implies that he believes that one is guilty only for being enough dumb to get caught, and not for committing the crime itself. Well, let's get back onto the names of the prisoners. They are all related in one way or another with duplicitous horoscopic sign, that is to say, mutable signs of the zodiac, which are referenced in many of this band songs, by the way, not only in this one.
I was an innocent man till someone crossed me over flame of earning some bigger money. I hadn't nothing to bet, I am sure without that I'd have missed this land of hope and glory.
Sharky and Nutley have to do with the sign of Pisces, Sharky for obvious reasons, Nutley for being little wacky, given that the people that rely on their intuition too much, like Pisces do, are very likely to be considered as being a little bit nut. Bridges has to do with Sagittarius, given that he seeks to find out the truth, that is, to bridge the waters. Last name Thompson comes from Toma in ancient Aramaic, which means the twin, so it means twin's son, and Jackson means son of a bull, because Jack was one of the ways to call bull in ancient Slavic, and today it is still used as an adverb, meaning strong, and the twins come after the bull in the horoscope, so it's again related to twins.
You poor son, hear you out sharp at 6:30. A cold shower after breakfast can't have you looking dirty. I suggest you leave what's given you, even if it doesn't agree with you. It's all you regain up until 12:30. In between it's time to stay up in your room and you can dream about life for good of me. 2 years of my teenage life given to this stand to attention life of land, of hope and glory.
Notice also the numbers being repeated, which are related to mutable signs, like 3 with Gemini, 6 with Virgo, 9 with Sagittarius and 12 with Pisces. And that a half, which they also mention, has also to do with flexible signs, as they are double signs, capable to change their cardinality between cardinal and fixed. So they are at any given time only one of the 2 personas they possess, so they are basically only halves of themselves.
I think I'll do something dirty. I forget the floor for juicy bats, and I make myself a smoke. A bowl to roll an envelope sticky. All this envelopes that pass my time. As the evening drags on, you can watch a little telly or gossip and people with a little bit of belly. Hot and serve cold with an hit from yesterday's. Don't complain, learn the game and I'll get through another.
Notice the prison guards hissing as well. As one can notice from song lyrics, one of the prisoners has given 12 years of his teenage life to this stand to attention life, as he calls it, which is absolutely horrendous. Think about how this monk's spirit must be broken, and is that not something similar to the faith Charles Manson had to endure, and eventually he became leader of the cult and supposedly mind control slaves handler?
I think I'll do something dirty. I forget the floor for juicy bats, and I make myself a smoke. A bowl to roll an envelope sticky. All this envelopes that pass my time. As the evening drags on, you can watch a little telly or gossip and people with a little bit of belly. Hot and serve cold with an hit from yesterday's. Don't complain, learn the game and I'll get through another.
And then the prisoner that says that he will do something dirty, that is, pick at the floor for juicy butts, and we know what it is supposed to mean. And all the prisoners have the notion that they supposed to learn the game, that is, learn not to bother authorities, and that way not get into the prison, and not to repent for the crimes themselves.
On the clock at long last this night birdie. Off the bed, straight to sleep as I leave this land of hope and glory. But only for a few seconds am I in ecstasy before the bell rings to let me know. Sharp at 6:30, at 1, at 2, at 6, at 2, at 3.
This part about being in ecstasy while sleeping and not wanting to get up sharp at 6:30 kind of implies, for me, that the humankind is unaware of something, as in a somnambulic state towards some fact of life, and doesn't want to wake up to it. Maybe to the reptilian shapeshifters being real and we the humans being their food source, that is, part of their chicken coop.
I say, oh, misery, your mama don't know.
This song is supposedly written to mock the Spanish soap operas and the going-ons that are really popular as their plots, like brother and sister falling in love. Because mothers and fathers hide premarital and extramarital affairs. It is basically a little racist given that it was written, in my opinion, to mock Catholics because these type of plots are typical for their series. And not really that much for the ones that come from the other parts of the world.
Then the weeks went by and the summer came down. Soon the best girl on the island he found. He went to his papa to make it a date. His papa shook his head and to this he did say, you can't marry that girl. I have to say no, 'cause the girl is your sister but your mama. To his mama, he covered his head. He told his mum what his father had said. His mother, she laughed, she said, go man, go. Your daddy ain't your daddy, but your daddy don't know.
As you can see, people of many races are seductively dancing, and they basically represent the specimen of all the different races that are to be found in Catholic world. Which is quite of an admixture, so it is a bit racist from the angle of a hatred for all non-blondes of the Catholic faith. Implying that their race had some say in what will become acceptable in Catholic world, and not only for their disdain for Mediterranean race. Which is basically the one responsible for the foundation of the Catholic faith.
The windows are open wide. Georgie frame for those outside. And answering the call. Blue flames leap up the wall. Who would have thought it strange that all of us would change? Out there in the hall, the shadows leave the wall.
This song doesn't make much sense, unless being viewed from the Gnostic angle. Dancing with the madman, perhaps devil or demiurge or one own guardian spirit, over the hills and far away, and the number of these hills in fairy tales is, if you recall, always 7 or 9. The same like the number of the Sephiroth on the Tree of Knowledge. Is that not a coincidence?
Then we had the plan, back when it began. And as we turn, we know one of us will go. Would you dance with the madman over the hills and far away? Arm in arm.
Then later into the song 7 ragged men are mentioned as well.
Star-spangled sight, silhouettes at night, dancing over Big Ben. 7 ragged men, up and away, forever and a day.
The part in the lyrics where they say, as I turn I know one of us will go, I find very interesting, because I believe it is implying of the human sacrifice that will be needed in order for them to achieve their awakening.
Would you dance with the madman over the hills and far away? Arm in arm, mad, not mad. Dance with the madman.
These madmen are also called mad lost men, and at one point it is being sang, would you dance with them behind the bend, as if in doing something illegal?
Nice men. George, newsagent on the corner, not very rich but never any poorer. Georgie, old George, a happy 63, not very tall but healthier than me. He whistles timeless tunes as he saunters down the street, springs in his legs and elastic in his feet.
Well, we all know who Georgie is. George is no one else but God, or be it his right hand, his archangel, George the Dragon Slayer.
Of the night, he steals through your garden, gives your hosiery a fright, and doesn't say pardon, as soft as a breeze, with an arm full of underwear on his hands and knees, dreams about the knicker scare.
And here he is being represented as this short caricature of a man, not very rich and not very bright, who steals ladies' underpants in the middle of the night and then eventually flees town when he sees his face on the cover of the newspapers for being the main suspect for the above-mentioned wrongdoings.
There, George, newsagent on the corner, how's the old car? Yes, the climate's getting warmer. Chatty old George, you get your morning paper, read about the knicker beef, underwear taker. It's a good day as you wander out the door, never closes early, always cleans the floor.
He wants ladies to drop their knickers, but only so that he could steal them, nothing more. Some tough macho guy, is he not? And all the ladies are after him not because they want him, but because they want for him to be arrested for stealing their knickers.
When darkness hits the town and there's washing on your line, get your knickers down before the dreaded sign. When the clock strikes 8 and you're snuggled up in bed, he'll be at the garden gate, filling the underwear with direct.
Here we can see Masonic M on the cover art, which is interesting letter given that it is symmetrical, that is, has equal left and right half, so it represents as within, so without principle. And he also has a pair, letter W, which is mirror reflection of it and with which it therefore makes as above so below principle.
They are after him, of that you can be sure. They've called him on the phone, they've knocked on his door, but he's gone away, gone to stay with some mates. He got the papers early and saw his own face.
M stays for female principe or matrimonia or marriage, and W for male principle or war. And as you can see, effeminate males in this band have chosen M on their cover art, which ironically is also drawn in a way to represent a male with his reverse triangle body frame, which makes it a double irony.
Madness, they call it madness. Madness, madness, they call it madness. It's plain to see, that is what they mean to me. Madness, 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 they call it madness. Madness, madness, they call it madness. I'm about to explain it, that someone is losing their breath. Hey, madness, madness, I call it madness, I call it madness. Well, if this is madness, then I know I'm filled with gladness. It's gonna be rougher, it's gonna be tougher, and I won't be the
has the female arch in the back of these supposedly males. They say here if this is madness he means the things he believes in, then he is filled with gladness, and then they say it's gonna get rougher, it's gonna get tougher. But I am not the one that's gonna suffer, as if because his madness is not madness at all, but wisdom.
I've never had much cause for worry, and I've not got a lot to say. You'll never find me in a hurry, because I live my life day by day.
Well, in this song there is just so many pictures where you can see band members with their head being superimposed over each other, making a person that had a height of 7 heads. Or sometimes there is 6 of them.
People say that I'm crazy, but I'm not that way inclined. I know what I know, and I'll happily show that madness is all in the mind.
The sex that can fit somewhere between 6 or 7 of their heads into its height is a female, and male can fit 8 heads into his height. And that is another way of them trying to say that they are actually women and not men, in my opinion.
4 ounces is all that I care for. I believe that's the only way. 24 hours is all that I need, because I live my life day by day. Happy the way that I do things, continually feeling okay. I've no worries on what tomorrow brings, because I live my life and see answers in problems, and others in degenerate way. But I don't care much for the question. Madness is all in the mind. Madness is all in the mind. Madness is all in the mind.
In the lyrics they mock again people who think that they, Masons and Gnostics, are crazy, say that they live their lives day by day, that they know what they know, that they are happy with the way they do things, continually feeling okay, and that they have to be sure that madness is only in the mind, implying that they can control their desires and at the same time not feel guilty when they follow them, because they are in some way intellectually superior to the ordinary people.
Is everyone chipping at your cordiality? Elysium, you stand icebound to the wind, a casualty. Elysium, is everyone nagging at your reason to believe? Elysium, you stare down from around, wipe your eyes, relax your hand and come inside. Lift back your head and swallow your pride. Don't be ashamed in me, confide.
Elysium is a Latin name for heaven, and according to the band it is a place where they are chipping away one's cordiality, where one is icebound to a wind of casualty, where everyone is nagging at one's reason to believe, where one is at a mount but from which he stares upon others with hostility, where one pretends that he is happy-go-lucky, everything's funky, where one's manic obsession turns to depression.
You pretend they're happy-go-lucky, everything's funky, but in the end your manic obsession turns to depression. Elysium, is everyone chipping at your cordiality? Elysium. stayed icebound to the windows that might spark fly. To catch a glimpse, don't blink an eye. The tax paper wrapped around your soul has been lit, let's go with the flow.
So proposed solution for that is that one relaxes his head, swallow his pride, comes inside and confides in them. To watch the bright spark fly without blinking an eye until the touch paper wrapped around one's soul has been lit and just goes with the flow. By the way, the flexible signs are the ones that go with the flow, just saying.
There was a time when I was younger, and all the nights and days were long, and every day just getting stronger, like a sunflower in the sun, in the sun. Oh, Mr. Moon was counting backwards, make the waters ebb and flow, and all the things we could and should have done. But them old regrets, well, they'll come and go, just come and go. So stay forever young, don't you do what I have done. Oh, stay forever young, before paradise lost and innocence gone.
This song seems totally okay at first, but then when you notice the lyrics, so stay forever young, don't you do what I have done. Before the paradise lost and innocence gone makes you wonder, are there some people out there who haven't lost their innocence to the serpent in the Garden of Eden and therefore earned death?
See the freshness of your young face, like a candle in the gloom, and the brightness of your smiling eyes, oh, they're lighting up the room. Stay forever young, don't you do what I have done. Oh, stay forever young, before paradise lost and innocence gone. So stay forever young, don't you do what I have done. Oh, stay forever young, before paradise lost and innocence gone.
Are not all people damned because of this original sin? Does that mean that one should exchange his knowledge one gained about right and wrong for this eternal life? But do the benefits of having the latter outweigh the benefits of having the former? Masons certainly don't seem to think so.
Everything that I tell you, girl, every word that you hear, every little way is bad. Let me make myself clear. There ain't no lies to deceive you. I love you too much for that. Every word that I say is true. You can believe me on that.
Is he mocking the believers here? by supposedly speaking in metaphor of this woman of his, who suspect that he has a girlfriend called Sue.
My friends tell me jealous lies. Now I'm getting my goodbye. A life without you, my dear, was dull as can be. I'm asking my loved one not to leave me now, not to leave me in misery.
We have Hanged Man, the guy that has the wings, eventually ends up being suspended in the air together with his saxophone, and eventually flips completely upside down and that way represents Hanged Man from tarot cards.
If you take in all they say, I guess I'll be on my way. Please, my darling, it's not true. I don't know this girl called Sue. Sue's a name I have not heard. I lost my girl from when I'm taking a heavy blow. I've got myself together. I can't go on in this colder weather. Christmas comes but once a year. It's a time of love and cheer. Your friends tell you jealous lies. Now I'm getting my goodbye.
And then at one point he shouts saxophone, and someone starts playing it, which is a proof for me that he is actually lying about this woman, because saxophone contains a number 6 in it, which is the number of the sign Virgo, which analyzes and doesn't take things on face value and doesn't just believe like Pisces do, which is also a mockery of Christians, especially because their believers don't analyze, that is, don't use their power of discernment, but believe strongly instead, because the church urges them to do so.
Here I am, polished up, writing for Buffalo at the palm. My wood is packed to reimburse. I've yet to re-rehearse. Many moons spent on love lines left from long leg, Popeye, the fat neck, Betty Bullfunk. Final run through, polish up. The flower of love is my buttercup. Moon in June for you all croon, just like Bob Bright, the fat neck, Betty Bullfunk.
Benny Bullfrog is eerily similar to that snake that, according to some Gnostics, swallows and devours after the death the souls of all those that didn't reach Gnosis or knowledge during their lifetimes. That frog is so huge that it can swallow a rat without problem, and we all know that rat is Sagittarius in Chinese zodiac, and Sagittarius is the sign which seeks to understand or see the truth. So is it a warning to the Illuminati that don't seek the truth, just like the ordinary cattle who are all the time ill-advised by churches that are owned by dark forces, not to seek it but just to take things on face value and merely believe everything they are being told?
Piece of muscle, I'm moving toe. I dice with death across the road. Hop aboard my lover's leap. Fat neck, quite a mess. Who needs a Betty Bullfrog? Here she goes, go ahead. My legs numb, go ahead. I can't run, go ahead. How my neck will get her.
And at one point they asked the frog, "What's the secret, bullfrog?" Which is a sign to me that this isn't some ordinary bullfrog. It's funny how they mention Popeye, the sailor, who fights all the time this huge badass guy called Benny the Bullfrog, and as we know, the sailors sail seas, so Popeye is actually the representation of a truth seeker, or a Sagittarius. As he travels the seas, and the sea, body of water, and to sea, a verb, are the words that are homonyms, which means they have same pronunciation, but different meaning, and rat is, by the way, water sign in Chinese zodiac.
Also, I'd like to add the Miss Popular, so I'm going to speak about this, but have a little chin up. Long leg, broad pipe, fat neck, Benny Dum-Dum. The sharp as Benny Dum-Dum, cool as Benny Dum-Dum. What's the secret, bullfrog?
There were also 7 seas in that other fairy tale, called Sindbad the Seaman, which is equivalent to the number of Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. Flower of Life is well-known Kabbalistic symbol, and the batted cup is used in witchcraft and alchemy, and it represents element of water, while the shield represents earth, sword represents air, and a rod represents fire.
Chested man, a pocket full of posies with a hat brim full of sandalwood, waiting for the train that never comes.
Is this again mocking of religious people, saying that they are waiting for what is never to come, Jesus Christ, like some gullible people wait on ghost trains?
Chasing the tumbleweeds across the sandy floor, adrift along the platform through the ticket office door, waiting for the train that never comes, waiting for the train that never comes.
As you can see, this gullible person the song is describing is seeing all the wrong kind of stuff, as if he sees only the stuff he wants to believe in.
But don't tell me there's nothing coming, you don't fool me. I hear the ghost train rumbling along the track, them free, and I hear them. It's black and white, don't try to hide it.
He reminds me of that chicken little character from the fairy tale by the same name, or of one of those little goslings from the Mother Goose fairy tale.
The station master's writing with a piece of orange chalk, 100 cancellations, still no one wants to walk. Keep the hungry children from the skeletons in the back. Aim to keep an eye out for the gypsy caravan. Ooh, waiting for the train that never comes. Ooh, waiting.
It's interesting how the refrain says, "It's black and white, don't you try to hide it," because it's a Masonic reference, and it talks about how they, the Masons, are actually ignorant as well, because just like this gullible character, they live in this two-dimensional black and white world, where they get played like chess pieces on chessboard by some cunning manipulators, while the reality is much closer to gray.
I'll promise you a gift worth much more if not sold. Half for you and half for me, if I may act so bold. I'll promise you a hope that money cannot buy. All good homely spirits will walk in by and by. I'll promise you a world of making of amends, and on our anniversary invite you. It only takes a tick, all the fruits of life carrying you aboard my ship. I'll promise you a world of making of amends, and on the anniversary invite you round the bend.
Tell me that this song doesn't speak about the real estate crisis that is every now and then caused by corrupt banking system and inflated prices of the real estates due to constant inflation that reckless landing of money causes, latest and the greatest being the one from the 2008. And this song was written way before that.
Don't find to me, you're only acting when you care. So I've decided on decisions will not strike you very fair. Let's devise a plan and we'll think about it twice. Sketching watercolor, constantly. You're only acting when you care.
At one point in the lyrics they say, "Let's devise a plan and we'll think about it twice," as if the people decide together with the authorities on what is to be done with their taxpayers' money, and then later on they sing, "Don't feign to me, you're only acting when you care. So we decided on decisions, will not strike you very fair," and there they reveal that the decisions are voted for unilaterally, by the autocrats only, without the people having the say in the matter.
Your wishes, you save it from doing work. The washer of your dishes and you still get your midday work. You state agent, you mention a pot of gold. All the young comforts before you get tired and old. One more try to get what you never had. Write my book for the old world. Look, it's happening, the future's looking not so bleak. 1,000 winners every week. 1,000 winners every week. So when you see me coming along the walls and up the stairs, like teapots in the cupboard under chairs. All your wives' tales are forecasts and dividends, when early vibrations only pays out to trusting friends. One more try to get what you never.
This song is obviously being critical of capitalist system and is rooting for socialism, although on the first glance it appears that is being critical of socialism. It starts with, "I am the bringer of your wishes, your savior from doing work, the washer of your dishes, and you'll still get your midday perk," and then in the next verse, "We can't all win, look it's happening, the future's looking not so bleak, 1,000 winners every week." And then even later on, in the refrain, "Forget all your wives' tales of forecasts and dividends, when Ernie feels vibration, only pays out to trusted friends." Of course they don't mention that communism and socialism were also led by their Freemasonic friends, and that they made sure that only their trusted friends had all the power there, too, even more so than in capitalism, although there was this benefit of having paid housing, education and healthcare, unlike in capitalism, of course.
Of my shoplifting career, you could safely say I was filled with fear. It was nail-biting work from the very start, but several princesses soon gave me heart. After a while I could pick and review some shirts, some trousers and a few LPs. No one ever stopped me, they didn't seem to care. It sometimes seemed to me there was no one there.
Well, this song describes the state of affairs in which today's society is, young people becoming thugs, and in this particular case shoplifters, due to being from broken homes, due to moral relativism and ever-changing societal values.
Then a fine summer's day my mate and me set off down the West End on our usual spree. Things were as normal for an hour or so, then my nimble hands were a bit too slow. Two store detectives made a fast approach. One grabbed my jacket, the other grabbed my coat. So we took you at last, one said with joy, "But after you some time and it means evidence. If I go to the manager and say I'm sorry, maybe you'll forgive me for my uniform folly." But what will the social worker say? If I don't come home today, he'll give me a clown. What if they don't let me out? I told them I'm on my own. Don't they understand? I'm from a broken home.
What I also find interesting is that this young boy is a thief, and god Mercury or Hermes that rules over Gemini and Virgo is also called King of Thieves, and he is also considered to be fleet-footed, so he could escape fast and stealthy any crime scene. And Gemini are usually considered to be very skillful with their hands, be it in good or in bad sense, and this kid in this song supposedly has fast hands that escape the eye being perhaps the Sagittarius, across the horoscope from Gemini. That is always trying to see or understand things through, to see through deception.
I'll tell him I'm the product of a broken home, and I always went out on my own. Was it too late to say I'd pay? And I'll never steal again till the end of my days, because I had no friends to call as such. Money and possessions, I did not have much, so I started to steal in order to get by. The quickness of the hand, this is the eye. This is the eye.
And, by the way, Gemini is kinda broken sign. Well, it consists of two people, brothers Castor and Pollux, and having planets in Gemini is usually considered to be a sign that one will divorce at least once in their lifetime and have very likely many love relationships, due to being unstable and unreliable.
Through the town in the evening, strolling silently, hardly breathing. Footsteps behind me slightly quicker. The corner of my eye a shadowy flicker. I wonder if he's after my soul again tonight. Stops the whisper with the shadow that still keeps me in his sight. I shout to pass and finding that they don't see me well. Don't want to get involved, worse and worse. I feel him brewing up an evil curse. Sense it chill grip up my spine, I want to scream, but only whine, because I know it can't be true. Mine's gone, now legs, it's up to you. I wonder if he's after my soul again tonight. Stop the whisper with the shadows, that's what keeps me in his sight. I shout it past the strongest, but they don't see my word. Don't want to get involved, it was my partner. The stillness promised me laughter, but every time I try to turn around, it throws my ears to hear a sound that makes me stare into the ground. Muscle puff and head I run, and I behind my mum. But even when I'm safely in my bed, I know that he is waiting, he's after my soul again tonight. Stops the whisper with the shadows, but still keeps me in his sight. I shout it past his strangers, but they don't see me well. Don't want to get involved in my spiritual affair.
This song is mocking, supposedly, the ones that believe in spirits, but it is actually the band members expressing their belief in this supernatural type of beings. I am absolutely sure, now that I know they are occultists.
I read a brand new paper, the man who had 1,000 guns lived in the southern states, well away from everyone, felt it wasn't safe, even in the southern guns. Was taken to his feet, he felt it wasn't safe, even in the southern states. That he might die, was he frightened by anyone with a gun? Well, every stranger's danger, everybody. He thought that we might die, he wasn't frightened. Why? Everyone has a bone, it's a passing danger. So he said, everybody has one, courtesy of Jack Ray.
This song is representing people that think that have right to self-defense as paranoid loonies. It shows stereotypical image of American Southerners of a weapon-hoarding crazy. And then at the end of the song people stay for some reason without food. I suppose some major crisis hits the country, and then the fellow can't eat his guns to survive. But little we know that the gun hoarders are usually preppers too, and they also hoard cash, gold and food. And it is least likely for them to be left without supplies when a crisis situation hits.
I can read what's going through your mind. I can see what you hide in your eyes. Yes, I'm gonna put a spell on you, just to see exactly what you'll do.
At the time Jesus Christ had preached, there were many similar spiritual teachers in Israel who performed, allegedly, the same miracles Jesus performed and had followers, same as Jesus had.
I'm a wizard, and there's magic in the air. I'm a sinner, and my friends you best beware. There's magic everywhere.
One of them, very popular one, was Simon Magus, or as he was also called, the magician or the sorcerer, that is, the wizard. Simon, after becoming a Christian, supposedly offered to purchase from the apostles Peter and John the supernatural power of transmitting the Holy Spirit, thus giving rise to the term simony as the buying or selling of sacred things or ecclesiastical office.
See the full moon in the sky. Time like water flows by till we die. Every moment wasted leaves its mark. Each setting sun leaves us standing in the dark.
Later references in certain early Christian writings identify him as the founder of post-Christian Gnosticism, a dualist religious sect advocating salvation through secret knowledge, and as the archetypal heretic of the Christian Church.
I'm a wizard, and there's magic in the air. I'm a sinner, and my friend you best beware. I'm a wizard, and there's magic in the air. I'm a sinner, and my friend you best beware. There's magic everywhere.
Jesus supposedly humiliated him in front of his disciples and proved that he was a cheater, because he had demons that helped him, as opposed to himself that had Spirit of God at disposal. But it is historically proven that Simon was a real personality and that he had a large following long after Jesus had founded Christian sect. He also raised the dead, turned water into wine, walked on water, multiplied fish and bread out of nothing, casted evil spirits out of the people, and eventually ascended into heaven.
One must forgive the noisy rushing fools who have no time for nature's natural schools. They cannot see the life that's in their hands, like ghosts who disappear across the land.
Anyway, he has become an archetypal magician in art and literature and is frequently mentioned, as well as in That Child's Game Simon Says or Simple Simon. Jesus Christ also used to call him sinner, so I only suppose that he is the wizard Madness sings about. The video is far more interesting here than the lyrics itself, although they are quite a bit interesting as well. Egyptian alchemy is very important for Gnostics, and Egyptians are considered to be founders of Gnosticism, and River Nile is very important to them. They thought that Egypt, and especially River Nile, was microcosm, or mirror reflection in small, of our universe, or macrocosm in big, which is as above so below principle. Hiram Abiff, the main architect of Solomon's Temple, key figure and founder of Freemasonry, was believed to have been from city of Tyre in Phoenicia, and Phoenicia or Canaan was ex-Egyptian colony. Egyptian had fought over it with Hittites long before it became an independent state, so Phoenicians we very likely of Coptic heritage. Freemasons believe that he is the same person with Imhotep, or the true architect of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and not Khufu or Cheops, whom the mainstream history considers the builder. They also call Hiram Abiff the widow's son, which basically means that he is the son of Lucifer. Lucifer is cast into the land of Nod with the other fallen angels, so he was not able to raise Hiram, and that's why he's called the widow's son, not because Lucifer is dead. As for the lyrics, why the last boat along the river Nile and not the first one? Why night boat and not the day boat? Perhaps because his oarsman is a guy with a toothless grin, that is the Charon, or the ferryman who carries souls to the world of the dead across the river Styx, or perhaps Gnostics have inclination to celebrate end of the year rather than its beginning, alongside Christians. And they like to emphasize that they appreciate more feat accomplished than a feat started.
I think it's time, Captain Carl.
Pardon?
Roger, 4065, do you have my confirmation of it?
Engines 1. Jack. Engine 2. Jack.
Okay, so in this song they mention dove, which is very frequently used to represent Holy Spirit in Christian iconography, and why is that so, given that they're most likely Freemasons, is beyond me.
Take time for your pleasure and laugh with love. Take the hand of another and sing for the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa, for the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa, for the wings of a dove.
They mention that they are on the wings of a dove, which could, in my opinion, be another way of saying that they are effing a dove, that is, abroad.
Walking round, don't think for a moment of looking down. Oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
What I find very interesting is that Sisters of Columbine, or Dove in Latin, is an order of Catholic nuns, which is female equivalent to Jesuits among the men, that is secret order. And their duties are to infiltrate other religions and use their sex appeal if necessary to seduce that church's leaders in order for them to do the bidding of a Catholic church.
Look up at the rooftops when you're walking round. Don't think for a moment of looking down. A room at the top.
Or corrupt them from the inside, whatever is necessary. This band seems to be anti-Catholic in other songs, so I don't know what that's supposed to mean either, except the usual Masonic flip-floppery.
Frankie Tracy's? Ha! Frankie Tracy's? Frankie Tracy's.
Naughty boys in nasty schools, headmasters breaking all the rules, having fun and playing fools, smashing up the woodwork tools.
We have Fallen Angel depicted here, the guy with so small wings, who cannot fly, similar to how Satan has broken wings or wings cut by God, so he couldn't ascend to heavens anymore.
The teachers in the pub, passing round a ready rub, trying not to think of when the lunchtime bell will ring again. Oh, what fun we had, but did it really turn out bad? All I learned at school was how to bend, not break the rule. Oh, what fun we had, but at the time it seemed so bad, trying different ways to make a difference too. The headmaster's had enough today, all the kids have gone away, gone to fight with next to school. Every term that is the rule.
We have Hanged Man, the guy that has the wings, eventually ends up being suspended in the air together with his saxophone, and eventually flips completely upside down and that way represents Hanged Man from tarot cards.
Sits alone and bends his cane. Same old backsides again. All the small ones tell two tales. Walking home and squashing smells. Oh, what fun we had. But did it really turn out bad? All I learned at school was how to bend and break the rule. Oh, what fun we had. But at the time it seemed so bad. Trying different ways to make a difference through the days.
And Hanged Man is a fool who has finished his spiritual journey and realized that the spiritual possessions are more worthy than the material ones, and is often depicted with money falling out of his pockets.
Lots of girls and lots of boys, lots of smells and lots of noise, playing football in the park, kicking push bikes after dark, baggy trousers, dirty shirt, pulling hair and eating dirt, teacher comes to break it up, back of the end with a plastic.
Children here are a metaphor for the whole human race, and they are fighting next door school every term. That is the rule, just like nations are fighting wars among themselves every couple of decades.
Oh, what fun we had, but did it really turn out bad? All I learned at school was how to bend, not break the rule. Oh, what fun we had, but at that time it seemed so bad, trying different ways to make a difference through the days.
And eventually all that happens is that they learn how not to break the rules, that is to fight each other and break all the rules when it comes to their friends, but not to oppose any authority figures. Like the headmaster that had enough today and sits alone and bends his cane on the same old backsides again. All I learned at school was how to bend, not break the rules.
Ready for a leader. Freddy is a man of class. We want Freddy for a leader.
All stand and raise your champagne glass.
This song is about how people do not influence the elections of their leaders, how they are selected for them and not elected by them.
Or finger unfounded fools, but there are some here amongst us that are not playing to the rules. I've rounded up the lowlife and local CID, offered a free massage, or else the third degree. There is no simple solution in this life we lead, so make things easy for yourself to the Baronage concede.
Here, in this song, the people think they want this guy Freddy, but the truth is that he is chosen by these mobsters that we see in this song, who are also in collusion with the police. As we can see in some frames that the shadow of one of the mobsters and one of the police officers are pretending to be fighting, and in the next frame they are dancing together with another guy.
Peace shall not prevail entirely, came the stark warning today. From his hospital bed, drip-fed Fred vowed he was here to stay.
At the same time, while the people are raising their posters, routing for their candidates, the mobsters are raising a toast inside their lodge to honor the election of the candidate of their choice. They are calling the candidate man of class, but it awfully sounds like man of crass. We have mention of mutable horoscope signs again. Gentlemen assassins are Sagittarians, ladies of the night are Virgos, unfounded fools are Pisceans, and baronager thieves are the twins. The baronage explains in picture and words how they make their candidates take the free massage or else the third degree. In other words, if the candidate does not want to take the massage, that is, have a sex with a person of their choice, so that they could have dirty laundry on him, the candidate will get tortured.
Approaching the pulpit, the Right Honourable Reverend Green.
It's funny how the torture is called the third degree, and 3 has a lot to do with the sign of Gemini, and there is also that third degree of Masonic apprenticeship, initiation into which is particularly humiliating.
Gathered here this evening to pay our due respects to drip-fed Fred, who late last night fell out of his prison bed. Know the nonce behind it? Slipped the night PD. Ooh, the word is out now, without doubt, you will answer to me.
We see the politician in one frame being carried around like some Sicilian crime boss in a litter vehicle. Normally he betrays the brothers and ends up in a hospital and becomes drip-fed Fred. In the church we can see both Great Pontiff or the Pope and the new candidate attending the Mass, and they explain there that the Pontiff or crazy nuns had to slip the night police to cut off the life support of the guy lying in a hospital bed.
assassins and ladies of the night, I call upon you this evening in the hope of shedding new light. There is a simple solution, one called honour amongst thieves. So we'll take pity on your souls and only cut your knees.
He brags how they are breaking kneecaps rather than taking souls because the person must fall on his knees that way, whether he wants that or not. And funny thing is that Irish Republican Army used to do that to avenge to their enemies.
Champagne glass.
We can see Hanged Man again, and this time we can see the money literally falling out from his pockets, but into the hat of the brother Masons. We can see hands of a small child in between the hands of an older person playing a piano, suggesting that the kid must be in a lap of the person playing, suggesting pedophilia.